What's going on, guys? RedWolfVion here with another Battle Operation 2 suit overview video. Today we have Gundam Unit 4, so general suit starting at 450. Start the kit, we have the main weapon being the Hyper Beam Rifle, which can be exchanged or swapped out for the Hyper Bazooka. You have your Beam Saber further enhanced. As your melee, as far as your sub-weapons go, you have your general head-mounted Vulcan, always good to target human troops. You have your Mega Beam Launcher. Now this weapon is awesome. We'll talk about this a little bit more. As you see, it is extremely powerful, but it has a long cooldown, a long overheat, and you have to focus, and it takes like 10 seconds to focus. It's amazing, but at the same time, it's dangerous. You have your Beam Gun Unit, which is a very good weapon to finish off enemies, especially if you shoot about 3-4 times before you get it close to overheating. And it also helps kind of protect yourself while backing up and such. And you have your slide shield, which is a large shield with 3.5k HP. Now again, this is a general suit starting at 450, it being level 1. The skills you have are Emergency Evasion System, you have Quick Boost, you have High Performance Balancer, Melee Combo Controller, High Performance Radar, High Performance Scope, and Observational Data Link. I think these are pretty standard. Quick Boost is actually really dope when you're jumping around because that's 20% less time you have the animation to launch and hop up. Now High Performance Radar and the scope is actually really neat because you will have that mega launcher we'll get to, and of course combo controller is there and is always nice. As far as builds go for this particular suit, there's many different ways you can build it. I personally prefer, first and foremost, I swap between the Hyper Beam Rifle and the Bazooka depending on the map I'm on and what other suits are on my team. So jump back and forth, but for the sake of this, we're going to use the Hyper Beam Rifle as the standard weapon. So you see in some of my builds in this video, I have a little bit of melee and ballistic defense. Then I have paired with a little bit of thruster gauge with melee program and a little bit of ranged programming. And you can top it off with some kind of range resistance, maybe beam or ballistic. I prefer, this is more like a mix of everything in my opinion. Being a general suit, you want to be very careful. 450, you start to come across the ever-changing suits. You may fight some suits that just have higher levels, but at this point a lot of other suits start to shine, and you might want to keep an eye out for your beam resistance, which this build isn't. However, I have tons of different builds for this. I have a build specifically with beam resistance, thruster, and then I have with shield HP. Now again, this is a suit that if you utilize the shield HP with this, it's probably because you're aiming with your shield in mind. Some people do that, some people don't really pay attention to that, but that helps a lot, especially if you're trying to get your beam launcher off. Another build that I've used for the Unit 4 here is a build that kind of helps overheat time, specifically for the Mega Beam Launcher, if you want to try to use that as often as you want to. So I have the auxiliary generators, I have 1 to 3, so that's overall almost 20% range beam weapons recover fast from overheating. I give a little bit of speed, a little bit of melee attack, and a little bit of beam resistance again, because at this point you'll be fighting things like Gundam, the Zoc, and other sniper support suits that will hurt. So be very, very mindful. In the higher levels, a lot more suits use beams rather than ballistics, not including MLRS. And these are just some of the builds that I use on it. Personally, I would say play with your own build, but you're always safe going with defense, thruster, and attack of any type. I wouldn't say focus on the actual focus ring for Mega Beam Launcher because it's not worth it. It's only a couple of if that, the level 3 is only a couple of seconds. It's not worth giving those slots up for a couple of seconds for the Mega Beam Launcher to focus on. It's really not worth it. I personally think that's something they should kind of revisit here. But yeah, when it comes to combat with this suit, it excels in a lot of options and viability. So you have, again, we're not using the rocket launcher this time, so it can change, of course. You have your hyper beam rifle, which it does stagger on focus, so you can go ahead and hit that, and it does a nice little amount of damage. Up next, you have your beam saber, which you have your standard left swipe, your right swipe, you have your neutral swipe, and your down swipe, which of course topples. You have your Vulcan gun, that is what is expected, nothing fancy here. And then you have your mega beam launcher. Now your mega beam launcher is strong. Fighting other generals is going to do probably around half, if not more, their HP. So imagine what it does to a raid, or even a support with questionable defense. So it does take a while to charge up. I want to also remind you guys, when you're charging this, make sure you crouch or go prone. If you're prone, you won't be knocked out of your charging. If you're crouched, you still can be, but you're still a little bit mobile. But again, when you get down to the ground, you have that damage and defense buff, which you can see in the bottom right hand corner. And also, whenever you're charging down or even crouching, make sure to turn so you don't aim directly at your target while you're charging. If they see you, you want them to hit your shield and not charge. You position your shield accordingly so you can do that. Once your charge is ready and you have the shot, go ahead and take it, and you can do a nice chunk of damage. And it's beautiful damage with this suit. Beautiful. Long cooldown though. Next, you have the beam gun unit. You shoot about 3-4 times. You can actually flinch them, and you can capitalize off of that and pick up any loose kills. Now, this suit is basic. The skills are very basic. I really like it. The only thing that isn't so basic is this mega beam launcher, which is really dope. Yeah, it does have a long cooldown, so guys, be very careful when it comes to doing combos. I honestly wouldn't suggest doing anything fancy. You want to do your simple range stagger attack into your melee. In some cases, you can also do the beam gun unit. I keep thinking of the beam arm. Just try not to overheat it. It is a very useful tool. Make sure you work this into your rotations while you're fighting enemies. It helps a lot, and a bread and butter that will kind of lead you to victory. As always, I would suggest being very careful when you do your shots, and since you have a shield, feel free to get a little more comfortable crouching with some of your shots. Even if your enemy's close, if they're toppled, you can still crouch to get that damage buff and stand right back up before they are able to get up and do anything. So again, simple combos, don't try to do anything fancy. I see some players try to start the beginning of a match with the mega beam launcher. They charge it up and they wait for someone to come in their line of sight. That is totally fine, but my word of advice, guys, don't let that get to the point where you're doing that every time it comes up. I agree that you should use it, but don't charge 10 seconds to wait 30 seconds to shoot one person. At that point, you've lost 20 to 30 seconds to the team, and your allies don't have you in the fight. So make sure you're in the fight at all times if possible. Now, say if you all have a point and the enemy's respawning, go ahead and charge that mega beam launcher and pop the first person you see. And again, go prone so you don't lose that charge, because it sucks charging this bad boy up, especially on smaller maps. So be very wary. Now, I personally prefer having a more defensive version of this suit. This suit is very versatile, so test it out. It's a good general suit to kind of get your feet wet at 450. It's in the DP shop, level 1. I forgot what rank you need, but of course you check the wiki, it'll probably have that there for you. So guys, I'm gonna cut it short there. If I forgot something, let me know. If I missed something, let me know. If I was incorrect, let your boy know. As always, I really appreciate you guys checking these videos out. Hopefully you enjoyed this, as well as many other things, and stay out of trouble. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure, actually 2 more things. Make sure to check out some of the Unit 4 footage and Unit 4 BST footage on the channel. I'll be having the other unit and other variants up somewhat soon. So keep an eye out for those, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks again, and nothing but love. Peace.